Today I am here at the 2019 NAMM show, and I am here at the Schiedmayer booth. Now, Schiedmayer is the world's only producer of a true Celesta. Now, this instrument might look a lot like a piano, and in fact, it has some elements of a piano in it. We have full-size piano keys, and we also have felt hammers, just like in a piano. However, the action that's found inside of this instrument is vastly different from a piano, and that's what really sets the Celesta apart from a piano, as well as other similar musical instruments. There's a couple of other companies out there in the world who produce an instrument that is marketed as the Celesta, and that they claim to be a Celesta, but actually, and I believe both of those instruments, first of all, the hammers strike from below, like on a grand piano, and also it literally just uses a piano action. So it doesn't use the separate Celesta mechanism that the Celesta uses. It uses a piano action just like in a grand piano, and so therefore it's not a true Celesta. It is a keyboard glockenspiel with a piano action. So that's just kind of an interesting little detail to note, that Schiedmayer is the only producer in the world of a true Celesta. Now, the history behind the Celesta is actually rather interesting. It was invented in 1886 by a man in Paris who built harmoniums and pianos, and his name was Victor Mustel. And there's even a bit of interesting history involving Mustel and a very famous composer that I will talk about in a little bit here in the video. But basically, Victor Mustel invented the Celesta based off of some previous instruments that were kind of similar. They ran off similar functionalities, but Mustel kind of created the Celesta, which is metal bars being struck from above with felt hammers using that specific Celesta action, and then there's also wooden resonators underneath of each bar that really help amplify the sound and give it a beautiful, warm tone, and it's really, really amazing. So that's kind of what makes the Celesta the Celesta. But what's really cool is, to me, I love the engineering that has gone into making this instrument as refined as it is, because basically Schiedmayer, they now have the Mustel patents, as they have had for many years, and while the Mustel instruments were good, Schiedmayer has been continually improving and improving and improving upon the Mustel design, and the new Schiedmayers are going to be vastly better than any previous Schiedmayer model or really any other brand of Celesta from the past. So that's something that's also really cool, that Schiedmayer has been improving upon the design, making very small, subtle changes that actually make a huge difference. But like I said, I love the engineering that's gone into this instrument, so let's take around the back and let's show you the inside of the instrument, and also kind of show you why this is so much different from a piano, which it kind of looks like a tiny little baby upright piano. So as you can see here, this is the back of the Celesta, and as you can see here, it is much, much different than probably any instrument you've ever seen before. It does not look like a piano, although if you notice, there are actual felt hammers in here, very much like a piano has. So that's kind of cool. And here you can probably see the mechanism a bit better. When you play a note, let me see if I can, there we go. When you play a key on the Celesta, the hammer will strike on the bar from above, like so, and create that awesome Celesta sound. So this is what makes the Celesta a Celesta, but what's really cool is when you play the Celesta, the bars don't play in chronological order. When you play a piano and you play the lowest note on the piano, the lowest string all the way to the left on the piano is going to be making the sound. But when you play the lowest note on the Celesta, as you notice, the bar that's all the way to the left isn't sounding. It's actually the one all the way over to the right, which is absolutely fascinating. And so basically the bars are completely scattered around the instrument. And if I were to do a chromatic scale here, and you kind of watch the hammers, that was a 2-octave chromatic scale, and as you can see, hammers from all over the instrument were actually playing, which is absolutely wild. And so basically the reason Schiedmayer has done this is, first of all, it makes the instrument very, very compact. If you had all of the bars laid out in chronological order, each one of them takes up a considerable amount of space inside of the instrument. So if you had them all laid out chronologically, the instrument would be huge. It would be many, many feet wide, and it would just be completely impractical. So Schiedmayer has kind of compressed the design of the Celesta into this box as per the original designs. And so basically now the Schiedmayer is inside of this very small, compact case, and all of the bars are here, and some of the largest bars have these long resonators here also that really help amplify the sound. And so the Celesta is a very, very well designed instrument. Another thing I want to mention is that all of these little action parts you see, everything here on the instrument is handmade in Germany, which is absolutely amazing, and that's one of the many reasons why this instrument is so refined, and it has such a lovely sound and a lovely feel. It's a quality instrument made by quality craftsmen in a wonderful country, and it's such a really, really amazing instrument. So that's kind of the look at the back of the Celesta, just kind of give you an idea of why it is so much different. This long rod here actually powers the dampers. As you can see, when the rod is activated, it allows the dampers to lift up off the bar and sustain the bar. And this long vertical rod here is activating both this damper bar, this mini damper bar here, this one here, as well as this one down here. So it's kind of scattered all across the instrument, which I find is absolutely wild. And one of my favorite things about it is, even though the action parts are scattered all across the instrument, the feel of the action when you play it is light and responsive and consistent and really, really amazing. And it goes to show how much work Schiedmayer has put into making this instrument play very, very well and sound very, very beautiful. But I've talked so much about the sound of the instrument by now, you're probably wondering, what does it sound like? So I'm going to do my best to record it here in the extremely noisy NAMM environment, and I'm going to try to give you a demonstration of what the Schiedmayer Celesta sounds like with a number of different pieces that hopefully you guys will all enjoy. So let's check that out. So the first piece I'm going to play on the Schiedmayer Celesta is undeniably the most famous piece written for the Celesta, and there's kind of an interesting bit of history behind this piece. Basically, Tchaikovsky was traveling through Paris and he came across the Mustel factory, which was the original manufacturer of the Celesta. As I said, Victor Mustel invented the Celesta. So Tchaikovsky came across the Celesta and he fell in love with the heavenly, angelic, magical sound of it, and he really wanted to write a piece. He wanted to become the first composer to include the Celesta in his compositions. So he wrote the Dance of the Sugar Plum Fairy, as well as a few other pieces, I believe, from that suite to emphasize the Celesta and to be the first composer to ever use the Celesta in the music. And again, he wanted to kind of to capture the magical qualities of the Celesta, and that piece really does a fantastic job of that. The Celesta has a beautiful magical sound, a wonderful heavenly sound, as you can see. In fact, the name Celeste comes from the French word heavenly. So I'm going to be playing Dance of the Sugar Plum Fairy on this instrument, and hopefully you enjoy it. So I hope you guys enjoyed that performance of Dance of the Sugar Plum Fairy on the Schiedmayer Celesta, which of course the Celesta was the instrument that piece was originally written for. Tchaikovsky was so inspired by the sound of the Celesta, he decided to write that wonderful piece to emphasize the magical qualities of this instrument. Now, another piece that uses the Celesta to really emphasize magical qualities and to inspire thoughts of magic is, of course, the Harry Potter theme that we all know and love. I'm just going to play the first little bit of it here because we all know how that goes, but as soon as I play it, you'll immediately think of the film score because a Schiedmayer Celesta was used in the film score, and I believe it was the Schiedmayer Celesta at Abbey Road Studios in London, which is pretty cool. Another piece that uses a Celesta-like sound is the Davy Jones theme from Pirates of the Caribbean. I believe in the original film score, at least in some parts, it was kind of a music box sound and it was a bit more plinky than the sound of the Celesta, but the sound of the Celesta really works amazingly for that piece as well. It kind of turns it into from being a kind of a creepy, weird piece and an unsettling piece into being an absolutely beautiful masterpiece. So I'm going to play that for you guys as well on the Celesta. So I hope you guys enjoyed that little performance there of the Davy Jones theme on the Schiedmayer Celesta. Now, the music that was originally written for the Celesta isn't the only music that you can play on the Celesta. You can really play pretty much any piece you want to on the Celesta, and with the Schiedmayer Celesta, pretty much anything you throw at the instrument will sound cool, because the Schiedmayer Celesta is just that kind of instrument. Play most anything on it and it will sound really cool. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play some Bach music now on the Celesta. I'm going to start off with a hymn that was originally written for the organ, but it worked great on other instruments too, and one of those instruments is the Schiedmayer Celesta. So I hope you guys enjoy. That was an octave too high. One thing that's kind of interesting about the Schiedmayer Celesta is, first of all, middle C is all the way down here because this is an instrument that really focuses on the treble. Of course, there is a lower register of the instrument, but that's not really the bass. Middle C on the piano is equivalent to this note on the Schiedmayer Celesta, and what's kind of cool to me is that the 5.5 octave model, which this is, actually goes above C8, high C on the piano. So on a piano, this is the highest note you can play, but on the 5.5 octave model, you can go up a little bit past high C, which is kind of cool. So you have a really, really high range there that you can play with, and it sounds absolutely cool. So the final thing I want to do on the Schiedmayer Celesta is play about the first half of a book that I have brought with me to play and demonstrate on the Schiedmayer Celesta. And what's kind of cool about this book is it was published in 1890, just a few years after the Celesta was invented in 1886. So that's kind of cool that the book that I'm playing was published just a few years after the Celesta was actually invented. So it kind of makes sense to play this book on the Schiedmayer Celesta. Now the music in this book, as I said, is going to be some more Bach pieces, and they're going to be some really fun pieces that are really fun to listen to and also a lot of fun to play, particularly on the Schiedmayer Celesta. So I hope you guys enjoy that. Let's start off here with the very famous minuet in G major. Now let's play the minuet in G minor, which kind of sounds like the minuet in G major, and it's going to be a cool test of a minor and kind of almost a little bit of a spooky sounding piece on the Schiedmayer Celesta. Now let's play another piece in the key of G major. This one is going to be very, very fun to play, and hopefully you guys enjoy listening to it as well. pieces I played so far have been kind of fast, so now let's kind of dial it back a bit and play a nice slow piece again in the key of G minor. Let's play another fast piece on the Schiedmayer Celesta, and this time I'm going to be playing this march in D major. Now let's play another piece in the key of G minor, and that's going to be this minuet. Now let's go back to the key of G major once again for this minuet, which is going to be another fast piece and another really cool piece to play on the Celesta. The final piece I'm going to be playing is another one in the key of G minor, and it's actually kind of the reverse of the number 6 that I just played, which is also in G minor. The left hand and right hand parts are reversed compared to number 6, so that's kind of cool. So I hope you enjoyed that arrangement of, well, not really an arrangement, an assortment of various Bach pieces played on the Schiedmayer Celesta, as well as some of the more traditional Schiedmayer pieces, Celesta pieces, to play on the Celesta, and hopefully you enjoyed hearing those on the Celesta as well. So just hopefully enjoy this video in general. The Celesta is a really, really cool instrument, and it's just so much fun to play. Now, a couple of things before I go, I wanted to talk about the action of the Celesta, because any of you pianists out there, or really keyboardists in general, are probably wondering, what does the action of the Schiedmayer Celesta feel like? You said it's much different than the the regular action on a piano, but what does it feel like? And it doesn't feel so much like a piano, but it does have some weight to it. It does a tiny bit of resistance, but it's very, very responsive. The second you touch the note, it starts to go down and it responds very, very well to your touch. And there's also a wide range of dynamics you can get out of the Celesta. I played mostly soft pieces here, but you can also play it very, very loud as well if you want to, which is really cool. Definitely when you play notes quiet or when you play them loud, there's definitely a wide range of dynamics that is there to be had. And one final thing I want to do before I go is actually show you a demo of what the Schiedmayer action looks like, because as I said, it's much different than a normal piano action, and it's really fascinating to look at. So let's go check that out. So this here is actually an action demo of what is going on inside of the Schiedmayer Celesta. Now there's actually a wide variety of different kind of variations of this action. All of the moving parts are the same, but the way they attach to the keys is actually a lot different. This one here would probably be one of the bars that's kind of right here, but in some of the bars, since the bars is down at the bottom of the instrument, there's a long rod connecting the back of the key that goes all the way down to the bottom of the instrument and then plays the bar. And so it's amazing that Schiedmayer has been able to make all of these different keys play pretty much exactly the same, even though sometimes you'll be playing a bar at the top of the instrument and sometimes you'll be playing a bar at the bottom of the instrument. There's a lot of various adjustment points in here. Even though it is a much simpler action than a piano, there's a lot less moving parts in here than on a piano. There's still a lot of room for adjustment. All of these, it's really powered by springs, so all of these little springs can be tweaked and bent if you wanted to really customize the feel of the action. This is an adjustment for the hammer, and then this, of course, is the damper. When you play the bar, the damper lifts up, and then of course when you press the damper pedal, there's the rods I showed you earlier that push back against this mechanism here to lift the dampers up off of the bar. And one kind of thing I find funny is that since this is powered by springs and not gravity like a grand piano action, you can turn it upside down and it still works, which is kind of fun. So that's kind of a look at the Schiedmayer Celesta action, just to kind of show you guys how it is much different from a traditional grand piano. Again, this is kind of the shape, and it's basically exactly just like a Victor Mustel patented in 1886. Schiedmayer has made many, many little improvements here and there to greatly improve the feel of the action. One for a fact that I know that they've done is they've added this little Teflon sleeve on the end to really make the damper move really smoothly. And that took a lot of resistance out of the action and makes it play very light. So Schiedmayer has been really improving on the action of the Celesta, even though it's the same basic design that Mustel invented in 1886. They've been vastly improving upon it, and they now have a very, very refined and beautiful musical instrument.